on this one. We welcome into the show Stewart, Robson, as well as Frank Leboeuf. Robbo, I'll start with you here. What should we be focused on? The fact that Dortmund came back incredible in the second half, or the fact that they were down 2-0 within 20 minutes to a terrible team like Bochum?
Well, what you should also be focusing on is the coach, because when you saw the setup of Bochum, it was obvious that they were going to go from back to front quite quickly. They were going to leave two up front. They were going to play with a diamond in midfield, and they didn't deal with that defensively on a couple of occasions, and they should have gone 3-0 up, as you saw in those clips. But the space was out wide for Dortmund. You know, they could get the ball out to Rierson on the left-hand side. They could get the ball out to Jan Kuta on the right-hand side at will because of the shape of the opposition, who were very, very narrow. And they didn't do that until 30 minutes into the game. And once they started doing that, they started getting crosses into the box. You saw that happen with the first goal. And from that moment on, then Bochum had to come out and challenge the wide areas. Then there was more space for Dortmund to play. So the coach left it 30 minutes before he realised what tactics he needed to use. But once they got that first goal, there was only going to be one winner because Dortmund were a much better side. And Guirassy looks like the all-round centre-forward. If you look at his goals, a great header for the first one, clever play for the penalty, and then the layoff and the pace for the third one. So good performance in the end from Dortmund in the second half, but the coach needs to question himself because it took him a long time to realise what the shape of the opposition were doing and how they needed to cope with that.
Shaka, we say this all the time when we watch Dortmund play, but it's classic Dortmund, going down 2-0, then coming back.
It really is, and I think that's the disappointing thing from Dortmund. And while, yes, you could look at some of the positives and the fact that they fought their way back, Guirassy and Adeyemi have a really nice understanding going, but this is just so typical Borussia Dortmund that we've seen for the last couple of seasons. Better team by a long chalk, but yet still have a way to make things difficult for them. There aren't many teams in this league at this level that you give a 2-goal start and you expect to come back more times than not. I think Borussia Dortmund got away with one here. Let's see if they learn from it. But if the last couple of years is anything to learn by, strap yourselves in. We've got a whole lot more of this to come.
Frank, I can only imagine as a defender, you must have been watching this game and just screaming at your television.
Yeah, a bit. I wasn't the best defender in the world, but I saw some actions where I say, oh my God, how can happen in that level? I mean, that was an open door game. It can be acceptable from the Bochum defense, but from a Champions League club, it's not. When I saw Anton and Stewart being smashed by a 1-2, I think it was on the chance Boadu had and didn't score. I mean, that's not possible. You have to talk between each other, you have to cover each other, and automatism weren't there. It's like they don't know how to play together, and lucky good for them that they didn't concede a third goal, because that would have been another task. But yes, I was kind of disappointed with what I saw, but it's kind of a habit as well from the Dortmund defense, and they have to quickly resolve those problems. Otherwise, they won't go far in the Champions League, thing that we don't really expect. But also in Bundesliga, it's not possible to aim maybe the first 3 or first 4 spots if you are struggling that much defensively.
Robbo, Frank mentions the Champions League. They got Real Madrid coming up in the Champions League. They got Barcelona coming up in the Champions League. How are they going to survive those games playing like this?
They're going to struggle because it's not just in the back areas, it's the midfield as well. Emre Can, I don't think, is a great holding midfield player because he can't run. He's not particularly quick. And you can say the same about Gross, who was playing as the other holding midfield player, who's good on the ball and he's quite energetic when he runs forward. But again, he's not a very quick player and people can run off the back of him. There was once in the second half when Pashlik ran down the side and he had to grab hold of him and he got a yellow card for it. And if you look at the two centre-halves, against Stuttgart, they had Süle playing as the centre-half and he didn't play very well, so he got dropped. Anton came in and Frank mentioned it. The 1-2 where Boadu gets in is unbelievable. How easy it was for the ball to be played square, the next ball to be played in behind Anton, and he completely got outplayed. And it should have been 3-0. So they're going to have real problems unless they sort out their defensive system. But I can't see they've got the players to do it. Schlotterbeck can't run. Anton's not particularly quick. And those two holding midfield players aren't quick enough either.
I know we're only a little bit into the Bundesliga season. Forget Champions League just for a minute. You think we can write them off as far as title contenders in the league?
I don't think they're anywhere close to Bayern Munich or Leverkusen.
This early in the season.
This early in the, yeah, but then we saw that over the course of the piece last season. that Champions League run, as unexpected as it was, I think put a different complexion on Dortmund's season and kind of makes us forget some of these same problems that were haunting them all term last year. But right now, given the start that we've seen from Bayern Munich, given who we know Leverkusen are under Xabi Alonso, Dortmund are not in that conversation.
Dortmund right now second, chasing Bayern Munich, who of course are part of the headline matchup in the Bundesliga this weekend. Bayern Munich taking on the defending champions Bayer Leverkusen. Bayern significant favorites, as you can see there, at home. Some of that might have to do with the fact that Oktoberfest is happening as we speak in Bavaria. Of course, the annual celebration there of Bavarian culture that runs through October 6th. And wouldn't you know, caught in the middle of it all is our ESPN crew. I don't know if we can spot them. Shaq, can you spot them from here? I see some food. I see some food. I see some beverages.
I see bear. We're getting close.
But our ESPN crew is somewhere in the middle of all this fun. It's Archie, Rhind-Tutt, Nedum, Onuoha, and Thomas Hitzlsperger in Munich.
Here we are at Oktoberfest, living it up in Lederhosen with Thomas and Nedum. And we are also very excited at the prospect of Bayern Munich in first place against Bayer Leverkusen in second place in the Bundesliga. The biggest game of the season so far. So what is it about this game, Thomas, that you're really looking forward to?
Well, first of all, we're getting prepared here at Oktoberfest. Bayern Munich was here last week. And you can sense that Bayern now, they want to prove to Leverkusen last season, yes, you were great, you deserve to win the Bundesliga, but this time it's our turn again. So there is a good feeling in the Bayern camp, and the optimism is there. That's what you need for a big game. That's why I'm excited about it. You've got the best players in the Bundesliga playing, Florian Vitz, Jamal Musiala, and many others. So everything is there for a great game.
Add to that, Nedum, a sprinkle of revenge in the air for Bayern after Leverkusen dethroned them. And not just dethroned them, becoming the first ever team in Bundesliga history to go unbeaten in the season. What's getting your juices flowing?
I think it's the fact that Bayern Munich obviously having to react to not winning the title last year. I think the first time in 11 years, was it? That's a big shock, and to lose to Leverkusen, for them to be record breakers, as you've mentioned. But this is still Bayern Munich. This is still Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. So they will always have this air of being the favourite, but now they have to prove it. And we were lucky enough to be there for the first game against Wolfsburg, and it was imperfect, but I remember after the game they said the key thing was they found a way to win. Didn't fill people with that much confidence, but as time has passed, they scored a ton of goals and they've looked very good. But the only question mark is, can they do it against the better side? Well, how about the reigning Bundesliga champions in Leverkusen?
Stick with Bayern for a moment. What is it that you think they've been doing so well so far this season?
I think there's an element of fluidity in terms of how they choose to attack. I think they've acknowledged the fact that teams will play against them in different ways. Sometimes it'll be man-to-man, sometimes it might be a bit zonal, sometimes it's a high press. And I think Kompany and his players, they are proven to be quite flexible in terms of how they move the ball up the field. And as a consequence, we've been able to see how good their attackers have been, not least of all Michael Olise. What signing he appears to have been so far. You've seen some independent movements of someone like a Musiala as well. Kane's obviously doing what he's doing. And we're talking about the attacking threat of Bayern Munich, whilst also being pretty good defensively as well overall. So it's interesting, because Leverkusen will obviously want to make a change and stop that, but how they do it at this moment, I'm not so sure.
Well, I think you have to give credit to Vincent Kompany. You know, when he came in, everybody knows he wasn't first choice, but to come into such a big club and very early on getting the players behind him, making sure they play at their best so early, which is really, really impressive. We all know it's a long season, but the way he came into this club, I have huge respect for that, and that's why tomorrow is a big, big test, and I see him having an advantage, not just because they play at home, but he's managed it quickly to get the team behind him and the club.
Granit Xhaka said after Leverkusen's win against Wolfsburg that it needed to be a massive wake-up call for the team. What state are Leverkusen in right now, do you think?
That's a good question. I saw them play in the Champions League and it looks really impressive. We've seen them have a couple of late comebacks this season and it looks good. But they've also conceded a lot of goals so far. It's 9 goals in 4 games domestically. That realistically is not going to be the type of form that gets you to win titles. So yeah, the wake-up call definitely needs to happen. And I think coming here to the Allianz Arena in Munich, this will be the ultimate test for them, because if they're sloppy, like they have been at times in recent games, then they'll lose this game and potentially lose it quite badly.
One guy who never seems to be sloppy is Florian Vitz on the Bayer Leverkusen side. And there's a lot of talk here in Germany, as you know, Thomas, about him and Jamal Musiala, his good mate on the German national team, and a lot of comparisons between them. Talk me through the role that Florian Wirtz plays for Bayer Leverkusen in your eyes.
Well, I mean, he's been brilliant for many years now. He's already proven himself. He's won the Bundesliga, he's won the German Cup, he's been excellent for the German national team, and he's one of the biggest talents we've ever had. And I think for him it was a good decision to play another season under Xabi Alonso. He knows how good the manager is. He will learn every day with him, and eventually he'll make that next step to a bigger club. But he's been excellent for Leverkusen. It's a joy to watch. I just hope he stays injury-free, because if he does, one day he'll end up, hopefully, maybe, who knows, playing with Jamal Musiala in the same team.
How would you condense your thoughts and feelings down on Jamal Musiala?
An incredible talent. I think the way that he plays the game is very unique to him, and he's a true asset for Bayern Munich. And if anyone would suggest that maybe he'd swap them tomorrow, I'd politely disagree.
I've been asked for your score predictions for tomorrow. And because I looked at you first, Thomas, I'm going to go to Nedum.
Sorry?
Well, that was, I didn't expect that, to be honest.
The score,
But
that's ambitious in this place. Ambitious. I'll go to you, Thomas. Your score
Well, the way
prediction.
things are going, I'd say I go with Bayern. I know I said at the beginning of the season I think Leverkusen will win the Bundesliga, but I'm pretty optimistic. Bayern, it keeps on performing, and they win closely, but 2-1.
2-1 to Bayern.
I'm
You
going
say
Bayern 4-2. Tune in, it's going to be a classic.
4-2. I'm saying a repeat of the 2-2 draw that we had last season at the Allianz Arena. For now, though, cheers or Prost. Back to you.
Wow, some folks have all the fun, huh, Shaka? And here you and I are in Bristol, Connecticut, while they're hanging out there in Bavaria as we take a look at the predictions. You heard from the crew, nobody's picking Bayer Leverkusen. Interesting, either draw for Robbo and Archie, Shaka, Thomas, myself, Frank, and Nedum all picking Bayern Munich to win. Robbo,